Welcome back to part 3 of our look into the unit circle and how to use it. Today, we're going to build on what we learned in the last video. So last time we tried to use the unit circle to find the sine and the cosine of specific angles. Today we're going to go one step further and find the secants and the cosecants of it. If you can find sine and cosine, you can find secant and cosecant. I promise. It's not that much more difficult. But to start today, let's try a couple practice problems on what we learned last time. So at this point, I would suggest pausing this video. You can use the first quadrant to help you if you need to. Try these 6 problems and unpause the video when you're ready. All right, here are the answers that you should have came up with. Now let's take a look at our new material today. Here's the first quadrant of the unit circle again. Again, you should have this memorized by now. If not, you can keep referencing it for today, but we'll need to know it in our heads very soon. Example 1 today. What if a question asks us to find the secant of 60? All right, here's our thought process for this one. We know from last chapter, secant is the reciprocal of cosine. All right, so it's 1 over cosine. So if we can just find cosine 60, all we got to do is flip it over. We know at the coordinate point of 60. All right, so coordinate point for 60, if you don't know it, again, you can look back at here, but the coordinate point for 60 is still 1/2 comma root 3 over 2. Remember from our last video, cosine is the x coordinate. So cosine of 60 is 1/2, which means secant of 60 is the reciprocal of that, 2 over 1, or just 2. And that's that. Well, the angle's not in the first quadrant. So for example 2, what is cosecant of 135? So we'll have to start with the reference angle. The reference angle for 135 is 45 degrees. It's 45 degrees away from the 180 degrees. We know that the coordinate point on the unit circle at 45 is root 2 over 2 comma root 2 over 2. We also know the unit circle sine is the y coordinate. And 135, remember, is in quadrant 2, so the y coordinate there is that's positive or negative. So it's above the axis, so y coordinate is positive. So for sine of 135 is the positive y coordinate, root 2 over 2. So the reciprocal of that for cosecant would be 2 over root 2. Technically, that is the correct answer. We can rationalize that to give us 2 root 2 over 2, or root 2. But this answer for what we're doing here is absolutely fine. What if the angle's in radians? That shouldn't be a problem. What is secant of 11 pi over 6? First of all, it's not in the first quadrant, so we've got to use a reference angle. Anything over 6 is a 30-degree reference angle. The point on the unit circle for 30 degrees is root 3 over 2 comma 1/2. Cosine, remember, is the x coordinate. 11 pi over 6 is in the 4th quadrant. So the x coordinate is, to the right, positive. So cosine over 11 pi over 6 is the positive x coordinate, which is root 3 over 2. Secant is just the reciprocal of that, so 2 over root 3. Which again, that's fine. You could rationalize this to 2 root 3 over 3, but I would accept this as a perfectly legitimate answer. All right, one more. What if it's not in the quadrants, but in fact on an axis? All right, so cosecant of 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2 is at the bottom of the unit circle. So we know that point is 0, -1. Okay. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. sine represents the y coordinate. So the sine of 3 pi over 2 would be -1, which means the cosecant of that is the reciprocal of that, but remember, -1 over 1, the reciprocal of that is just 1 over -1, which is still just -1. So actually, the cosecant and the sine of 3 pi over 2 are the same. Before you try some practice, remember, if you ever have something divided by 0 that's not possible, instead of writing a number out, you should be writing undefined. You may see that in your practice problems on the next couple slides here. At this point, pause the video, try all the practice problems on the next 2 slides, and come back and check your answers when complete. Here is the first slide of practice problems. You can pause this video and take a look as long as you need. And the second slide of answers for the practice problems. We got one more video on the unit circle that we'll take a look at next time, where we'll start trying out the tangents and cotangents. Otherwise, thank you for checking out day 3. Have a great day.